Hello everyone. My name is Kamal Manocha. I represent PMS AIF World, taking the rhythm of our weekly webinars ahead. Today we have very interesting guest, somebody who is very well known in the sphere of equities, brings with him more than 3 decades of experience, needs no introduction because he's a very well known thought leader in the space of equity markets. Mr. Samir Arora, very warm welcome to you
Thank you very much.
for this webinar. We have been seeing equity markets, making all-time highs, and though everybody was like, skeptical a month ago because there was this wise voice kind of going out that markets have become to an extent expensive and there could be volatility ahead of elections, as well as there are trend changes signs visible in the market. But again, suddenly markets have started to suddenly go up in last 15 days, and hence very obvious question: are we being too optimistic at this point of time, or is it really a truly a breakout moment for India? And hence we kept this topic, which is a larger, broader topic. You kindly maybe address this topic as your first remarks that come to your mind, and then we'll maybe further deep dive into it.
So I don't think it is a breakout moment, and there is no need for a breakout at 22, 23 PE. So let's look at it differently. That if you look at the last 5 year, 10 year, 15 year, 20 year, 25 year type of returns of the market in rupee terms, for let's say the NSE 500 type index, which means the broad index, these returns over all these periods are in the range of lowest might be some 10-11% and baki up might be 16-17% per annum. So over all these periods, and if we convert it to dollars, and we have this in one of our presentations which is available online, or we can send it to everybody. Basically, if you look at this over the same period, but compare it to other bigger obvious market like US, Europe, Asia and Japan, China, emerging market. Well, not every country in the world, but these mota mati big pools. Then India has done very, very well in all these periods against all these markets except US, which has done better than us for the last, I think, 5, 10, and 15 years. But for India is also quite close. Matlab, India is already doing well and has done well. And by the way, for 25 years, India is number one. Okay, by chance means वो starting point पे थोड़ा depend करता है, so it could be off if you. But broadly, India has done well. Therefore, the story of India is not that India was doing very badly as a market, and that suddenly some great thing is happening which will make it do much better. ये नहीं story बन सकती, because it has already been world number one for many of these periods, and even when it is number two, it is sort of quite close to number one. So the story has to be the returns have been in the range of 13-15% in rupee terms. So can we say going forward with higher confidence, or with high confidence, you can make those kind of returns again? And that, I think, there is high confidence. So all the stories that we may put on demographics and digitalization and China doing badly and India therefore taking or getting advantage of that, yeah, jo bhi, demographic or Apple coming in or supply chain, uska end purpose ye hai that can we get the kind of returns that we have got? I think that should be the starting point. If you get much more than that in the short term, वो बाद में कम हो जाएगा, because the valuations are not less. But plus minus, if we can get the earnings growth of the market and not lose it on derating, which I think we will not lose. So that is one. Second way of looking at it is for somebody saying, okay, we agree with you कि long term में आपके 14-15% rupee returns बनते हैं. But what about immediately? Will it be back ended? So for that, who knows? But let's say big picture, what will be the normal logic? The normal logic would be that if the recent returns are very high, somebody will say, these returns are much higher than the average return, and therefore the future returns will be lower. Or if the recent returns are very low, and somebody would say, broadly, India grows at the corporate earnings grow basically in mid double digits, or that our GDP grows in nominal terms at around 12%. let's say 7% or 6.5 plus 5-6% inflation, 5%. So if you look at the last 2 years, not last 1 year, and that I have chosen, you can choose 1 year also, but 1 year will make it look every time जो ज़्यादा बढ़ गया तो कम हो जाएगा, ऐसे होता नहीं है, phases में चलता है. So last 2 year returns of the market by chance are very close to our 5 year time returns, because the last 2 year returns are also 15% per annum. So in 2022 calendar year, the market was up 4%. And 2023 calendar year, it was up some 25%. So घूम फिर के last 2 year returns are also very similar to our 5 year returns, which are very similar to our 15 year returns, which are very similar to our 20 year returns. So वो trigger नहीं मिल रहा उसका कि बड़ा सस्ता है कि बड़ा महंगा है. तो बेस्ट है कि ठीक है. It is not some best time ever for you to invest, and neither is it so expensive that you should just pause, or I mean hold back. So matlab mota mati theek hai, you'll get plus minus this kind of return. If you get too much higher, you will get a little lower. If you get little lower, you will make a little higher. But there is no reason to believe that what we could get on our own, you can call it or whatever, forever, sort of, that we can't get the same range going forward. Secondly, you can say that you might get those returns with lower volatility, because up there are 5 years, if you leave out the last 5 years, there was only FII type flow which will either come in or leave, and therefore, even though we got those returns, it was much more volatile. Say 2008 May, the selling by foreigners was maybe less than what we had in 22. वहां पे 50% मार्केट गिर गई या 4% बढ़ गई रुपी में. That is basically because of domestic flow, which is a bit of a counterbalance. So that is, I think, enough. There is no need to say this is the best time ever to invest, because what will you do with the best time ever? Will you sell your house to buy? No, you are already getting enough to justify decent weight in equities or full weight. There is no need to sell a story कि my God ये तो कोई अमृत काल of market शुरू में जरूरत ही नहीं है ना. अगर वो आ गया तो of course every fund manager will be, and every investor will get it anyway. But don't go in with that aggressive projection. Yeah.
Sure, Samir. But otherwise, has it ever happened in the past that there is certain level achieved by markets that fund managers, themselves start to pause, start to increase
नहीं
cash
नहीं, वो थोड़ा
levels?
बहुत क्या होता है, नहीं वो ऐसे होता नहीं है, वो आप थोड़ा बहुत करते हो, because that is not how this model works of fund management. Because when I was in the mutual fund, even now we are back in the mutual fund also, or PMI, anything. अब पुराने इन्वेस्टर के पैसे बन गए. अब कोई भी कंप्लीटली तो फंड बंद होते नहीं है. वो एक आध कोई छोटा मोटा नीश फंड कहेगा मैं बंद कर रहा हूँ बिकॉज ही वांट्स टू प्रूव अ पॉइंट, बिकॉज ही वांट्स टू, वो भी रॉन्ग हो जाते हैं हाफ द टाइम. द पॉइंट इज ऑल द टाइम, बिकॉज इफ आई एम अप 80% in 2 years, बट अ न्यू इन्वेस्टर कम्स इन, मैं कहूँ जी मैंने अब कैश बहुत रेस कर लिया है, तो नया इन्वेस्टर कहेगा मैं तो पिछले महीने आया था फर्स्ट टाइम, मुझे क्या तुम्हारे 80%, मैं तो उसको देख के आया. The game is that it is extremely difficult to time the market. If you can time it, once in a while you may be able to time it, and it's a fluke. Now you look at Warren Buffett, 4-5 पता नहीं कितने सालों से 100 बिलियन लेके बैठा है. करे वो हर साल कहता है कि मेरे 20-25 पता नहीं कितने बिलियन बढ़ गए. टाइम करने की कोशिश कर रहा है, क्या हुआ है उसका? यूएस मार्केट को वेट किया कि वॉरेन बफेट हैज बीन हेजिटेंट टू ऐड. इट्स टू डिफिकल्ट, एंड इफ यू आर ऑफ बाय 6-9 months, so you thought कि market should fall because you wanted to fall and it went up 15%. आप जितनी टाइमिंग कर लो वो आप 15% रिकवर नहीं कर सकते. फिर आप क्या करोगे? वो 20 बढ़ के जब 5 गिरेगी या 10 के बीच whatever, फिर आप कहोगे मैं टाइम मैं अब ले रहा हूँ. But is it higher or lower than when you? It's too difficult. Sometimes somebody may get it right also. So there is no need for that angle. मोटा माटी कोई 5-7% कैश तो ऊपर नीचे हम भी करते हैं, बट हमने भी कई बार किया है. हमने डीमॉन के बाद किया था, गलत निकला ट्रेड, because we thought demon is very negative for the economy, but then the money went into the funds, I mean into the banks, and then from there to the fund. So लोग भूल गए कि was it bad for the economy or not in immediate term. So after 1 or 2 months, we also said, screw it, we also went back. Second time, हमने ज्यादा कैश की बात हो रही है, हमने रेस किया 22 में. कि जी इंटरेस्ट रेट्स हाइक भी हो रहे हैं और साथ में यूक्रेन वॉर भी हो रही है। उसमें हर्ट नहीं हुआ लेकिन गेन भी नहीं हुआ क्योंकि मार्केट ही नहीं गिरी, वो 3-4% प्लस माइनस में घूमती रही। सो द फैक्ट दैट वी हैड 10% कैश डिडंट चेंज आवर लाइफ मच, बट वेस्ट ऑफ एफर्ट ही हुआ ना, thought be very difficult. So don't expect the fund manager to say कि it is bad. Fund manager will say मैं कुछ और कर रहा हूँ, मैं सस्ते वाले शेयर ले रहा हूँ, मैं ये ले रहा हूँ, मैं डिफेंसिव हो गया हूँ, हम लार्ज कैप में हो गए हैं। कोई बोलेगा मैं दूसरी कंट्री ले रहा हूँ बिकॉज वो चाइना ले रहा हूँ, जैसे किसी ने क्वेश्चन पूछा है। बेसिकली छोड़ तो नहीं रहे ना, क्योंकि अपना काम कुछ ना कुछ करने का है। अब जिसका ग्लोबल हुआ है तो ग्लोबल में घूमता रहेगा, कोई कहेगा कि मैं इंडिया में ही कर देता हूँ। बट बॉटम लाइन इज दैट ओवर टाइम very few have made money out of timing the market. ये है बॉटम लाइन। आप बिना बात में अपना हर्डल बना दो, जैसे उन्होंने बोला हम तो जी 35% टारगेट बनाते हैं, कहाँ से 35 होता ही नहीं ऐसा। जस्ट बिकॉज आपके 10 साल में बन गए, विच ऑल्सो किसके बने, किस स्टॉक में बने, वो अननोन स्टॉक में लॉटरी चल गई, इज नॉट सम फॉर्मूला ऑफ लाइफ यार। ऐसे लाइफ हो रही होती है कि हम पैसे पर बनाते हैं, तुम बनाते क्या मतलब है, इतने बनते ही नहीं है किसी के जो वर्ल्ड में नहीं बने। आपका रिटर्न है कि मार्केट के बने 15 रुपीज में, आपके 5-6% ज्यादा बढ़ जाए, आपका काम हो गया। वरना तो आप साइकिल के टॉप पे आके जो मर्जी बोलो।
So you refer to some of the boutique fund managers who are to prove the point, saying that they are stopping
नो नो
taking
नो नो
money.
नो नो स्टॉपिंग इज फेयर, बट व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज स्टॉपिंग के बाद आप दूसरी कहानी बना दो, फिर क्या फायदा हुआ। बेसिकली पॉइंट इज हम कहते हैं कोई जरूरत नहीं इतनी फाइन ट्यूनिंग की, बट सपोज किसी का ठीक भी हो सकते हैं, तो कि 100% ऑफ द बंदे रॉन्ग है, खाली मैं ही राइट हूँ। आई एम सेइंग इट इज अ वेरी नीश एक्टिविटी एंड इट मे वर्क और नॉट वर्क, इट वोंट चेंज द वर्ल्ड, इट वोंट चेंज इंडिया, इट वोंट चेंज इन्वेस्टर्स। बिकॉज आपके सपोज मार्केट में पता नहीं कितने हो गए, कुछ 3-4 पता नहीं $100 बिलियन इन्वेस्टेड है, उसमें दो बंदों ने जिन्होंने 2 बिलियन इन्वेस्ट किए होंगे जी, अब हम वो कर रहे हैं नहीं कर रहे, दे में बी राइट और दे में बी रॉन्ग, बट बिग पिक्चर आप भी as in the investor will also not say, since any one guy has said that the market is very expensive so I will sit on 100% cash, तो वो भी कहेगा 5% कम कर लेता हूँ, मैं नए पैसे नहीं डालता। हम भी यही कहते हैं कि मार्केट ज्यादा हो गई, अब स्मॉल कैप के बदले लार्ज कैप ले लो, अब बैंक के बदले वो ले लो, वो ऐसे ही होता रहता है। बिकॉज ओवर टाइम द फैक्ट दैट equities outperform alternatives is in black and white, इसमें कोई ज्यादा डिस्कशन नहीं है, इट इज इन ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट। बट whether you could have added more than 1% here or there systematically by timing is not, there's no evidence। because सिंपल बात है, आप वर्ल्ड के टॉप फंड मैनेजर, जो हेज फंड मैनेजर, जो भी अमीर अमीर आदमी है, उनकी कोई किताब आपने पढ़ी है जो कहते हैं मैंने मार्केट टाइमिंग से, कोई भी नहीं कहता, तो हम कहाँ से ढूंढ के लाए ऐसे एग्जाम्पल।
No, absolutely. So, you said for last 25 years, India's equity market has been on number one. But
Yeah,
there are some of these fund managers who have stopped taking money for Indian market, quoting that it's become expensive, and they are launching
so I'm
funds that are
saying
focused towards China, towards East Asia, seeing that they are comparatively cheaper. For
अब वही मैंने पढ़ा ना, वो मैंने पढ़ लिया क्वेश्चन। व्हाट आई
yeah,
एम सेइंग उसमें अब क्या है कि किसी का हो भी सकता है व्यू, आई एम सेइंग उससे वर्ड थोड़ा चेंज हो जाएगी। सपोज ही इज राइट, तो ठीक है, वो इज देन अ बिगर हीरो देन ही इज, तो ठीक है। बट व्हाट आई एम सेइंग इज विल यू मूव बिग अमाउंट्स ऑन दिस लॉजिक। आप क्या करोगे, मतलब आपने जो इन्वेस्टर है वो कहेगा हायर पॉइंट तो ठीक है कि सस्ता है चाइना, तो मैं इसमें और अपने 3% 5% पैसे उसमें हमारा एक ग्लोबल फंड है, तो हमने जनवरी में कहा यार चाइना है तो बड़ा सस्ता, तो हमने 4% ले लिए आउट ऑफ आर 100%। अब ऐसे तो ऑब्वियसली नथिंग रॉन्ग विद, कोई कोई चाइना कर रहा है, कोई यूएस कर रहा है, कोई कहेगा एआई कर रहा हूँ, कोई कहेगा मैं ब्रांड ले रहा हूँ वर्ल्ड के, कोई कहेगा लुई विटॉन ले रहा हूँ। व्हाट आई मीन इज दीस थिंग्स supposed to play with the world, and कोई नया आइडिया लेके उसके लिए भाई तू 2% ले ले, but it is not something which stalls everything else from your, as in the investor's point of view। ये मतलब है।
understood. And in your multi-cap PMS portfolio, what's the active strategy that you're following now in terms of cash, large cap versus mid small caps?
Oh, so we don't have much cash because we are bullish. With I haven't come to you कि we are bullish, तो बताया ही नहीं आपको। Bullish का मतलब होता है, please understand, मेरे हिसाब से if market goes up 15%, I'm super bullish because I can't get 15% from sitting in cash. Secondly, you can say I'm bullish if I feel कि यार मेरे जो मार्केट के एज अ फॉरेन इन्वेस्टर भी हो ना कि एज अ मेरे रिटर्न ऐसे होंगे कि वो इन्वेस्टर जो है उसकी बाकी कंट्री से बेटर रिटर्न होंगे, देन आई एम सुपर बुलिश। अब उससे ज्यादा बन जाएंगे तो बी वेरी हैप्पी, बट हम तो 15 पे बुलिश हो जाते हैं। तो बुलिश का ही नहीं मतलब मुझे 40 चाहिए टू बी बुलिश। You understand what I mean? Because as long as equity does better than other things, I'm bullish, right? Now, so first of all, we are invested. We have mutual funds. Everybody, although they are different fund managers, but philosophically all similar. So we will be, I guess, some 60 odd % large cap because हमारे पास financials बहुत हैं, वो large cap ही होते हैं सारे, and maybe 20 odd % mid and maybe 14-15% जो technically you can call small cap as per SEBI. ये होगा plus minus 2-3% here or there.
Sure. Certain sectors, which were kind of rising a lot in last entire decade, like private banks, tech, pharma, consumer discretionary, have actually not participated much in last 2 years. In fact, other sectors like PSUs, railways, power, defense, manufacturing, infrastructure, they are the ones which have participated. So the change in cycle that happened, maybe because of rise in interest rates, is that again going to change soon when interest rates will start to fall?
So before that, before I come to these sectors, let me tell you कि मेरा view on market क्या है. So I am right now saying कि पहले मैं सोचता था in the beginning of the year कि once Mr. Modi wins, everybody who is betting on it वो दिसंबर के जब आए थे वो जो कौन से रिजल्ट्स आए थे जो भी स्टेट्स के, तो वो हल्के हल्के डिस्काउंट हो जाएगा and normally people sell on the good news. Even though may not forever, but like मैं तो 10% की बातें करता हूँ, 5 बाकी तो मैं चेंज नहीं करता वो तो स्टॉक्स है. But then I started seeing his own comments on the budget. This will be a transformational budget. Then he says 100 days में मैं ये कर दूंगा, वो कर दूंगा. And separately, in the Feb budget, they said that they are going to cut the fiscal deficit in 2025 March. मतलब ये जो अभी शुरू हो गया है कल परसों से. So इन चीजों को अगर आप reconcile करने की कोशिश करें, it is not easy because transformational can't be I'll cut subsidy. उसमें क्या transformation हुआ? Neither can the transformation be कि I will cut capex because I have to control deficit. So मेरे हिसाब से the only way this works is कि you sell some assets and you invest that money and you do it in direction wherever you want. मेरे हिसाब से 2-3 PSU लेके पूरे के पूरे बेचने पड़ेंगे. It won't be कि आपने स्क्रीन पे बेच दिए. You will have to lock, stock and barrel sell. And it is not so unreasonable to believe that because this government in the current term, not some previous term and not Vajpayee's term, but current government in the current term tried to sell BPCL less than 1.5 years ago. 2 years ago. I think 22 में या नहीं sorry 22 में यूक्रेन वॉर हुई थी तो 21 में. So the same government, same prime minister, same oil minister, same whatever tried to sell. Secondly, they sold Air India also. So मुझे लगता है वो क्या करेंगे 2-3 PSU उठाएंगे, पता नहीं कौन से वाले उठाएंगे और उनको completely बेचने का अनाउंस कर दो. उससे क्या होता है the whole rally will be happening because these are the right things to do, particularly in things which are not so sensitive for India. And वो फिर आपको कि मैं पैसे इन्वेस्ट करूंगा किसी जो भी चीज में, वो ट्रेन में फ्रेन में जो भी. सेकेंड आप क्या करो which also they are doing, so I'm not pulling it out of thin air, I'm just trying to connect the dots, is you say कि जो PSUs के पास रियल एस्टेट है ना बहुत ज्यादा, जैसे MTNL के पास होगी, कोई BSNL के पास होगी, कोई रेलवे के पास होगी, कुछ कुछ होएगा, उसको हम ABC करके वो कर रहे हैं मोनेटाइज. कहीं से आपको पैसे भी चाहिए, you have to spend that money, and in theory you have to cut the deficit because I am not saying it, you as in the government is saying they will do these things. How to do it का एक ही दिन solution, there's no third solution. Okay, so if any of these is done or all of these are done or one of these is done, it will be a great budget. So I went in, I didn't reduce my net in this mid cap, small cap correction, saying I am not getting swayed by bloody day to day. अब मैं budget वाले दिन सोचूंगा what is to be done, and वो हमारे हिसाब से वो सोचना 5-7-10% का ऊपर नीचे का होता है, not की. The second thing is the world is bullish, the world is doing well. We are actually underperforming this year, by the way. We are not doing some great wonders. Okay, it is up. 5, 7, 8 old, but your world is up. So why should what is going wrong with us that we should be bearish? Nobody world is bullish. हम भी bullish हैं उनके साथ. Plus हमारे events भी हैं. हमारे election है. हमारा we are the fourth largest market, so you can't ignore us. The same thing which I was saying in the beginning, that people are a little bit frustrated with China. Now, one question is that is China becoming very cheap? It can be cheap or it can be expensive. It is not coming back in the style that it had. It is now a trade. It is like saying if some PSU is bad, it can go up. I mean, sorry, not bad. It is cheap, it can go up. It is not changing the flow of money to that extent. 90% will still go, 80% will still go into this thing. So China से इतना कोई खुश नहीं हो गया कि मैं ट्रेड कर रहा हूँ तो इसलिए the whole world will shift. But big picture is that India is getting the visibility because of size and doing well with size, and because actually many people are seriously upset with China. For example, अब ये खाली वैल्यूएशन की बात नहीं हो गई है. वहां पे एक तो पॉलिसीज ने मारा है. Those policies were aimed at hitting the investor because they wanted to achieve their policy objective. For example, they used to have a lot of tuition wali companies, जैसे हमारे Baiju type, and they announced in one day that a tuition has to be not for profit because tuition cost is discouraging women from having children, and our objective is that people should have now two children because they felt कि demographics बड़े खराब हो गए because of that. तो अब आप अपना objective meet कर रहे थे, आपने वो sector उड़ा दिए. The sectors went to zero. Like Baiju type, वो तो अपने उससे हुआ है. So these things the world एक नहीं है, ऐसे 100 चीजें की हैं. आपने अलीबाबा का अलीपे का IPO अनाउंस नहीं हुआ था, पैसे भी रिसीव कर लिए थे फ्रॉम द इन्वेस्टर, हमने भी डाले थे. हमारे पैसे US डॉलर से हांगकांग डॉलर में भी कन्वर्ट हो गए थे. कहते हैं कैंसिल. वो 300 बिलियन पे वो मार्केट होनी थी, मतलब IPO होना था. अब वो पता नहीं कहते हैं 60-70 बिलियन में सेकेंडरी मार्केट में ट्रेड हो रहा है. तो हमारे तो पैसे वापस आ गए क्योंकि IPO में थे, बट जो प्री IPO वाले थे, सॉरी जो उसमें थे, प्राइवेट इक्विटी थे, जो भी थे, वो बेचारे सपने ले रहे थे कि वी आर बीइंग वैल्यूड, इंक्लूडिंग आवर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ सिंगापुर है. सब 300 बिलियन वैल्यूएशन पे जो भी उनका स्टेक बनता था 1/3 हो गया बिकॉज somebody got angry with somebody. तो ऐसे बहुत सेक्टर्स में हुआ. इट हैपेंड इन गेमिंग, इट हैपेंड इन डिडी, द ओला ऑफ चाइना. तो ऐसी चीजें लोग आसानी से ना भूल जाते हैं 2 मिनट में. ऐसे नहीं होता काम. एंड प्लस जो इंडिया की प्रॉब्लम हुई थी रियल एस्टेट की, जो जयप्रकाश यूनिटेक, वो अब उनकी हो रही है. तो हमें भी तो 4-5 साल लगे, उनका तो स्केल भी हमसे 10 गुना है. चलो दे टेक द सेम नंबर ऑफ इयर्स, तो फिर भी 3-4 साल है, सब पहले सॉल्व करो.
There is another wisdom, going in the current advisory fraternity that advise that large caps are very attractive in comparison to mid and small caps, and hence, while doing alignment, advisors are saying that one should increase allocation towards large cap, decrease allocation towards small caps, irrespective of investors' long-term horizon. So, what are
I
your
agree.
regards?
I also agree that on the margin, large caps are more attractive than mid and small. Although, every time our analyst will say, or even I'll say, I agree with the big picture, but this mid cap is very good. But if I say big picture, the logic is very simple. Okay, now I'm going to speak in English because which I agree.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
so no, because that says actually I keep mixing. Anyway, so what happened was that if you look at 2019 December 31 and you go back 5 years, you can do it on Google yourself or whatever, Yahoo. 5-year performance of 500 index and the NSE mid-cap index. Then you go back 5 more years. So you go from 2014 to 2009. Then you see mid-cap index and you see large, this all the 500. Then I did it from 2005 also because our Helios started in 2005. You look at all these periods, over these longer periods, which are 5-7 years, because the first one is longer, where I did from. And then you do whole period. Basically, mid caps do not materially outperform the market. But if you had looked at this performance from 2017, say some September, October, going back 5 years, it would have looked how great the mid caps are. The mid cap very correct. As soon as the cycle ends, basically gives up everything. It has happened every time. You can see it in US for 50 years. There'll be the same performance. But you look at in US the large cap versus mid cap now and start 3 years ago, from 3 years ago, it will look large caps are massively outperforming the mid cap because there those seven stocks are doing well. So the S&P 500 is massively outperforming the Russell 2000 and even outperforming the S&P equal weight. Equal means that the large guy is not getting the extra weight. India mein ulta hai. The point is, why should it outperform by right now? If you look at it from post-COVID, from 2020 March 31st, say you take it till yesterday, it looked like mid cap is outperforming by 15% per annum. Why? It has never done it in its life at the end of a cycle. It has done it every time in the middle of the cycle. So this can be that the nature of the buyer is different, which it is true. According to me, that is the reason. These are these guys who really dream and think that you are supposed to make 30% per annum. We will see. I have done it for 29 years and 50 fund managers have disappeared from the face of this earth in front of me because they thought like that. Only some regular and steady one. Second is that the market is such that the country is such that it has changed so much that these small companies are going to be the future. Nothing has changed. You are giving protection. How can you give multiples to protection? How can you give multiple that we are giving to these solar guys? I mean, are we mad to think that this can sustain? I mean, we must be complete loonies of the world to think that these companies deserve 50 and 60p because they are just EPC. Well, EPC instead of doing a pipe is now setting up a solar farm. So, kya ho gaya fir? What? How does it matter? After 1 or 2 years, I think we're going bankrupt half of these guys. But you want to do it, try it for 2 years. Big picture, nobody will believe. None of the old guys will believe because, like yesterday, I tweeted the solar cell guys in the world, the demand is 3 times. In Europe, people are getting so many solar panels, they didn't know what to do with it. So they are using it as fences for their houses. When they instead of buying a wooden fence, a solar panel we are putting. Here they will say, no, no, this sector, because the government is looking at only approved list of suppliers, therefore their business will continue. We have never in the past given high multiples to highly protected businesses because big picture, when you are giving that much higher protection, the other guy is losing. The other guy means the consumer of that product, which means the solar plant wala ya jo bhi. So some of these things are bad. Basically, history doesn't change so much. It can be a little better, a little worse. Your mid cap will. So I think it is wild compared to history, and history always rhymes, repeats, whatever.
No,
And
sure.
even if it doesn't, at least for us, that can is the only way of seeing it. If this is what normally happens, and we don't have enough micro reasons to say why it should be different today at the whole market level. It may be different for 5 stocks here or there. Of course, it and that is how some mid caps will become large caps. But it's not that as a concept it happens.
So you made a very pertinent point, which is another point, which is another, I would say.
Nothing. It says here on average in the last 20 years, mid and small caps outperform large caps. This is completely wrong, Mr. Sachin Mehta. The reason for that is you are counting it from today. That's why I specifically said count it 2019 December 31 and go back. If you do it today, then the last 3 years outperformance changes by 1 or 2% the 20-year numbers. Bottom line is because you are in the middle of this cycle. So you're maybe at a high point or a higher point. So this changes everything. You look back 5 years, 10 years. Look at it when the cycle was over, when the cycle was up and then down. For example, in the say you look at it from 2009 December 31 to December 31 2019. So in this period, you had two massive bull runs of mid caps. Massive as in beating the market by 50% in 2004. The Nifty was up 20%. I think mid cap was up some 70% or 60. Then the second one was 2017. after the demon. So after seeing those two, you just take the period as 10 years, no outperformance. They come up.
This time, say market, goes through some correction, which is the nature of equity, and within small cap space, can we see similar pain as we saw in 2006, 2018, 19, and 20?
Up that, but right now we also hope that doesn't happen, because it's not that we will benefit if these correct a lot, because everything gets pulled down. Plus, we also have 30 odd percent in mid and small. All it means is not that we are also completely selling off any mid cap. All it means is on the margin. See, one is if you accept and expect with thoda bahut this is wrong, then your style changes a little bit, your expectation change, your hula bulla changes. That is all that today I can say. Second is you could say that in fairness that now there are more buyers, and whatever happens they have been programmed to buy on dip and all that. So in the beginning it may not. On the other hand, we don't know exactly, because right now the RBI, the finance minister, SEBI chief, all have said that they are uncomfortable. All of them separately have said. Although maybe driven by one comment and then others sort of agreeing with it, but all have said that they are uncomfortable with the speculation or whatever in the mid and small. Now, does anybody need great scientific research to say that the IPO market there is something wrong? It's absolutely wrong. I mean, it's obvious that it is wrong. Then what can anybody say? But also, they have also started correcting. I saw a report by, I think, Enam. Not Enam, sorry, now they become Axis. So by Axis, uh, on the performance of IPOs for the last 2 3 years, and many of them are now not doing as well. You had that IPO of that company, drone wali kya company thi, whatever. What is it called? Idea drone or whatever it's called. So that was so blatant that the stock had become some 1500, 1400. And I said that day this stock is going well below IPO. It has nearly reached the IPO price. I mean, something that is too much for anybody with even 2 bits of this thing to digest. But who's to say whether it's as bad? I hope it's never as that bad. I hope it just little bit corrects on a relative basis, and that will be okay. And by the way, this year it is. This year the large cap has outperformed. I think maybe not till today, but generally.
No, absolutely. This is quite visible. And in February also, there was a
Of course,
correction.
in February, of course, but I'm saying even year to date, because all what can you see? You can't see that 1 month. Obviously, in that 1 month it was bad. I think it's simply that don't get overexcited about anything, because nothing lasts like that. And in our business, to survive is to win. If you are there long enough. So, when people say you compound over 25 years, you'll make so much money on Twitter and all they say. So, first thing is you have to be healthy for 25 years. You have to have money for 25 years. You have to have the job for 25 years. Let's say you're talking about SIP. So many other things are required. And one of them is that you will not blow up on the way. Blow up means lose so much that you feel so upset, or your family feels so upset, or your client feels so upset that they say, screw you, we don't care what you think long term. You have to survive that whole period to compound and see the years.
So while you're a global fund manager, Samir, and you have been, I think, working out of Singapore for last 2 decades, I guess, and
25, since
25.
98. Since 98.
Now, for next say 2 decades, don't you get pulled back to India to
I
kind
am
of?
totally pulled into India, because actually I only invest in India. This global fund, we have one fund that is more my friends and my money and a few other people's money. It is not really a professional activity. The professional activity is 100% India. And last 25 years returns, if I could get out of, for my NAV, if I do it in rupee terms, it's like 500 times from sitting in Singapore. So Singapore does not mean that you're not pulled into India. It is like saying you are sitting in a place where sort of Shanti say you can work. So it's like saying ki, everybody is not sitting in New York who is investing. People are investing. Forget about apna Omaha, but people are sitting on the West Coast and investing in effectively New York market. It is longer distance than India to Singapore.
But if you were to kind of seriously say that whatever today excitement we are seeing in equity markets is maybe discounting the expected positive outcomes of future Fed meetings or the political results, is that true?
No,
Or
no, it's not true. What I mean by that is that every time, that means you are looking for some event for the next. But this, I don't think beyond a point every event is the only way the life goes on. For example, HDFC Bank for 25 years knew, everybody knew that HDFC Bank is winning share at the expense of the state-owned. Abhi nahi, I'm talking about the previous 25 years. And then Aditya Puri is the CEO. And that it normally grows at 25% per annum, the earnings. So was it ever discounted? If it was discounted, how come every year it used to go up 25? Why didn't you go up one time only 500% and then be done with it? Now Google, who didn't know or doesn't know that Google is dominant in search, and therefore in 2000 and maybe not in 7 but by 12, 13, 14, 15 you could have discounted it. Na? There is nobody else like Google in that business. Till today it's not discounted. It's discounted, but you get the earnings growth. You may discount the rating, which I agree, even for our market. That's why I don't think that our market can get re-rated with FI flow, domestic flow, mutual fund flow. Now we are hoping that can we get the earnings growth? And I think that much you can get without losing proportionately on the value rating. For example, look at March. How much FI flow and domestic flows came in, you think? How much was the FI flow in March? Only in March. I think some 30,000 crores I read. And how much was the mutual fund flow? 50,000 crores. How much was the market up? Less than 1%. With 80,000 crores of buying. Because suddenly some private equity guy will turn up who wants to sell. Or some ITC wants to sell. Or BAT, I mean. It's a big market. These things, just expect that the valuations are not so high that earnings growth also should be lost. The valuations are not so low that you should make more than the earnings growth. Now, Mota Mati, you should make in this range because it is not so cheap also, but it's not wild expensive simply because last 2 year returns are say 15% per annum and Mota Mati our corporate sector grows 14-15% per annum. So last 2 years may does not become more expensive. Now you may add to that the interest rates will be cut, the political event will be over, you'll have some good budget, something. So then therefore, chalo, theek hai, this will go on. That is the way to get it.
what is your company's research anticipating about the growth in earnings? Let's come to that in maybe this financial year. We have been talking about the kind of tremendous growth in corporate earnings in India because everything is kind of burgeoning. So what's the
No, I don't think. How much do you think IT will grow this year or next year? Next week they'll be negative or
yeah.
zero. So how are they burgeoning? So what will be the IT growth for next year? Maybe 10% max. How much will be the guidance by Infosys? Maybe less than 5%. So where? Okay, how much will today Dabur? You saw the result. The stock fell 6%. How much will Lever grow? Nothing. So it's not nothing is burgeoning. That's the point. Broadly, 13-15% earning growth is not an easy thing in life. It's not easy in life. So if we get that, it's very good. Most probably, I don't think you'll get 15% this year of earnings growth. I don't think you'll get. Because consumer will not grow that much and IT will not grow that much. So the chotu companies can grow that much, but the two big giants can't grow that much. So you can't grow. Look at you see, Zomato is growing, but none of the restaurant guys are growing. So it is being taken. Okay, maybe you're eating it at home, ordering at home, whatever. So that fellow is not growing. Some other restaurant is growing, but it is not straightforward. It's not that. And plus, some of this protection will have to, if these guys say another problem. There are so many unlisted guys we don't appreciate. For example, in the air conditioning space. We keep looking at Voltas and Voltas say Blue Star. Arey, there is Fujitsu, Samsung, LG, और दूसरा Haier. वो इतने सारे हैं that you think that there is demand, but there are so many bloody players in everything. How many namkeen guys are there now? You tell me. We think there's only one Haldiram. There's some 30 of those guys. 25 have gone public already. In the end, it's not easy in life.
You have never thought of maybe coming up with a fund in the private equity space like MK
I
Ventures?
will never come. I will never come with private equity because private. MK is not coming. Has he come with private equity?
Yeah, yeah. Singularity Ventures is very old. It's like they have raised a
No,
lot
no,
of
no. I
money.
know, but he's not investing in private companies, is he? Is he?
Private companies. Yeah, yeah,
I
private
didn't
companies.
know that. No, I won't do private because my returns have been a bit good in the public. As I said, my NAV is up like nearly 500 times, so I don't need. And the market is up 35 times in this period. I'm okay with public because it's just easy, and I don't like these 10-year periods. I don't like all that. Okay, should I take one of the questions here? That it does not matter whether it's a small cap, mid cap, and large cap as long as it's a quality company. So broadly, that is easy to say. All these lines are good statements, but I don't do any bullshitting. It matters, but when, for example, is every Indian company better than every Chinese company? No, but Indian companies randomly, you pick up any Indian company last 3 years, you would have beaten a randomly chosen Chinese company because those sector moves, those country moves, those category moves make a difference. That's why a little bit you are supposed to know because the valuations are not supposed to be similar because a small guy has still not seen cycles or can he handle many small guys disappear. So one story we tell, we mean not me because I don't tell stories, is that you should buy small companies because this large company was previously a small company. So it is proof of the logic that this company went up and became so much. So the thing is, every large company was at one time a small company, but every small company did not become a large company. That is
Right. No, absolutely. And hence, if anybody has to actually invest for next 5 years currently, and his allocation towards mid and small cap is less, and is wanting to invest in mid and small cap space, would you recommend a PMS structure or a mutual fund structure? Let me explain why I'm asking this question to you. Because we as PMS World platform would have a bias towards PMS with a logical reason that PMS can go in cash. PMS AUM is less, and hence it is less fragile if market starts to fall. But since you
No,
have
I
both
would.
PMS and
No,
mutual
I
funds, I
agree.
want you
We
to
have
answer.
both. But my thinking is that the issue with the large, real large AUMs is that there is no exit for them. You, of course, have an exit, but they don't have an exit. So what will happen is what SEBI said was absolutely brilliantly put. SEBI brilliantly figured out the issue. Issue is if 5% people redeem, what will happen to the returns of the balance 95%? That was the question. Because if really 5% redeem, of course, they will say we will sell a large cap this time. But what happens is when 5% redeem, by the way, this stress test was absolutely no use. Because the stress test, each guy did it as if he was in a vacuum. That vacuum means not vacuum, that others are constant. And if I sell, I will be able to sell five at 20% of the volume. I can sell in 5 days, 10 days. If three people get redemption, because normally if there's a macro issue, not only one guy will not get redemption. So when three guys get redemption, there'll be no exit. From that angle only, the small and mid cap PMS is better because A, it's in your own account. You can always break it up and say, go to hell, I'm selling my quantity if the fund manager is not selling. Whereas in a mutual fund, the size of, so that mutual fund performance, some part, we don't know how much part, has been driven by the fact that you are getting continuous inflows. So the stocks cannot fall because the fellow has 40,000 crore. How dare you sell any of the stock that he has? He will just take it away from you. And by the way, there's one question here that how have mid and small cap stocks done better than their index? I don't think they have. By the way, do you think the PMS, because the benchmark is wrong, right? You are comparing mid and small cap with the 500 index.
This is as per SEBI, but otherwise, even if compared to the respective indices,
Yep.
there are PMSs which have done better, even with
Then the
respective
small
indices.
cap index.
Yes, there are.
Acha. That might be few then, because I was seeing some of them were clearly their benchmark is wrong according to me.
No, absolutely correct. Because SEBI has kind of mandated to use BSC
SEBI has
500.
mandated नहीं है ये क्या है कि this is the association recommends all these crazy things,
Understood. Right.
and nobody figures out that how it is being manipulated effectively.
On our website, actually, for basic clients, basic users, we show as per SEBI, but our advanced analytics does
Shows
show
again the correct index.
all proper comparisons.
Correct,
Absolutely.
correct.
Yeah. So as of now, is it? You have mentioned that timing has absolutely been very difficult in the past, and that's broadly the context of this entire discussion. And people are trying to time the market by going
But
towards large
do it
scale.
in reverse. Do it in reverse. That is the timing so bad? No way. It's not bad. It may not be good, great, best, but it's not something that the world is doing badly and we are doing as a market, so therefore it's odd. Secondly, that our country is doing badly, that our growth is doing badly, that our politics is doing badly, but we are saying no, ignore all that. No, सब ठीक चल रहा है. So with that, okay, that is the way to I think.
But most of the, I would say fund managers in both mutual funds and PMSs, which are like kind of more flexi cap or multi cap with large cap bias, over last 3 years have actually not been able to give alpha. So that is another, I would say point which investors have in their mind, and which is kind of making them go towards more mid and small cap biased, maybe smaller
No,
funds.
first is mid and small cap funds have not given alpha, according to me, compared to their own index. But in many cases, particularly in our case, that is Helios case, actually, if you look at the guy who was fully invested, we have given alpha. What happens is that because the portfolio, PMS portfolio, which is reported on your this thing is aggregate, where in the 2020 period to 21 period, for us, for example, there was 50% of the money coming in via STP. Okay. And all that is pooled to give you the performance. So a fund starting new fund, by definition, not by definition, in the beginning, the fact that there was a lot of STP money meant that a lot of money was lying in cash. But it was only lying in cash for the guy who wanted to keep it in cash. Now, so when I was telling this, somebody said, but why? That will affect everybody. No, it won't affect everybody. Because today, if somebody gives us STP, it doesn't matter because the fund is big. So you come in with 5-10 crores or 20, because anyway, not everybody is coming together now. And so therefore, that little bit of money that is lying in cash for him does not change the entire cash for the PMS in aggregate. But for the guys who gave us money to say invest as you want, which means we broadly invested it fully, which is what we call the fully invested investor or day one investor, which is an actual this thing, and everybody was copying. We have outperformed, but many others may have also outperformed. Point is, if you think that 2020 was a good time for a fund manager to start a fund, it was not. Because when you are starting, you think, Are March say a fully invested guy has done well, because the fully invested guy went down and next day the market went up, so it went up. For us, for example, in March of 2020, we started. And next week was the lockdown. So we never invested. In April, which was the first month of the year, market was up 14%. We never invested because we had some 5-6 crores, first of all. Okay. And the market is bloody shut. The country is shut. I have 5 crore if I invest. Then I am now in the game. And maybe the country blows up after a few months or something. I'm not interested for 5 crore. So we never invested, and we started investing from May 20th or something. So वो एक महीना 14% market चल गई. Now it affected 5 crore rupee wala amount, but it has permanently affected my this thing. I mean, not permanently, but after some years that impact would have gone down. But even over 3 years, it has impacted me 4-5% per annum. What happens is, we are, by the way, one of the few PMS guys who get money every month, including in March, including in Feb, including in Jan, including in December, after we started our mutual fund. Because the guy who sees monthly understands. Oh, बड़ा agreement वाला बोलता रहे तो बैठा रहे, but everybody else other than mid cap guys is more or less negative on PMS flows for the last many months. But we are not. We think we have done well for long, and little bit here or there needs an explanation to the guy who's really interested. So
Right.
one guy says, why I choose PMS, it has to be mid and small cap because I can analyze large caps myself better, or choose mutual fund in that case. Well, in theory, you can choose a small and mid cap mutual fund also, but you're right. I mean, that depends on you. If you think you can, and if you really think you can analyze large caps better, then you can also start a PMS for large caps. There are many ways of doing this. Anji.
Absolutely. I think. Do you see any question that you want to answer in the chat box?
No, I've answered most of them. Also, what which AI? What is it? Which? Oh, what allocation you suggest? See, allocation, I don't know, but if you look at the market's allocation, it's broadly 70 large, 30 small and mid. How do we know that? Because broadly that is the allocation of the NSE 500 index. So Mota Mati 70% is largish. And that's why I say ki somebody can make it at some point 50 or 55 and some point make it 80, but you don't go 0 or 100 kind of thing. And over time, you can check yourself, the large cap to mid cap difference is not a lot. Unless you see it in the middle of cycle.
There's another last question coming from Chintan Shah. You can have a look.
Does it make sense to have 20% allocation to cash so as to deploy whenever market falls by 20-30%? Well, please note that normally the normal big fall of a market is 20-30%. It is not a normal fall. These falls that you have every 7-8 years, 6-7 years are supposed to be of that 20-30%. Oh, it's only that we are colored by 2008, which was not a normal fall. It was a GFC fall, which was the second time since 1929. And that fall was some 50 odd percent. So what I mean is 20-30% fall is not a normal fall for you to think it's coming, because that would be a bad fall. It'll be like one of those every 7-8 year wale fall. In theory, now it depends on what is the starting point, but we already had this in COVID time. So in theory, we hope up 27 tak don't trouble us, 28 tak, or unless it becomes blatant in some way. Of course, to 2020 fall was because of it, not any Indian overvaluation or hype or something. So I don't feel that there is that kind of a thing in India that, and even in US, those 7-8 stocks have done well, but the rest of the market hasn't done well. And those 7-8 stocks, there is decent justification for them. So it's not that something looks over leveraged, over blatant, overly wrong. If at all, that looks a little bit in some of the small caps and some of the IPO type, but IPO is like a small cap only now, mostly. You are eternally optimistic. That is the way to be. That is, I have survived 2000, 2008, 2020 March. So that is the way. So as I said, I've already said, what does the government do? As I said, I'm first bullish on the budget. If they disappoint me on the budget, then we will reduce in our long short fund, we'll reduce by 10%, and in here we'll see what to do. Right now it looks okay. It doesn't look bad. And okay is also okay. Every time it doesn't have to be good. The valuation or market, ki bhai, I will buy only when it's very cheap. Otherwise, I will stay. We have this big fund manager in the mutual fund industry sitting, I don't know now, but a few months ago, he was sitting on 15% cash or something. What is the use? How much will you save? If you're wrong for 1 year, how much will you put 15% on one magical day? And you have 85% invested. You don't find 1 rupee worth of those 85% stocks doing anything good? भाई ये 15% उन्हीं में डाल दो. Are those stocks going to underperform cash? This is all marketing. Please understand, when somebody comes in and is wary, I am conservative, it's marketing. It's just marketing. If you cannot rationally justify, or rationally, you have 85% invested. Let us say a new investor comes in and gives 100 rupees. Do I put that 100 rupees in the cash? Or do I invest 85 and keep the 15? Because it's a fund. It's not a PMS where you can say ki each fellow is separate. So a completely new guy came in and gave me 100 rupees. Will I put 85% or will I add it to the kitty of cash? No, they'll say, no, we'll keep 15% cash and we'll invest the 85. So wherever you were investing that 85, this 15 usi mein dal do bhai. Or are you saying that that 85% will earn less than debt return? Otherwise, you are spoiling. You can say, I don't find new ideas. Are you saying my current idea is also not worthy of getting 15% more weight? Because not all of them are at some limit. So the point is, there are no answers to these questions. These are, everybody does it, to satisfy your own thing of going. Like I say, there was no need to buy anything in March of 20. It's too much. If you're already quite a bit invested, just enjoy, not enjoy that, handle that. You're not enjoying life, the people who are dying, but handle that. If you keep 5-10% cash, it gives you a sense of control. If things are bad, I won't feel bad. I will say, see, but actually it's only for these non-performance that you're feeling that you are in control. Where should we invest, in your mutual fund or PMS? We say we don't care as long as you invest in at least one of them. Who knows? Each guy has his own view in life. But broadly, may I add that our overlap between the mutual fund and PMS is at least 75%.
Samir. So I think it was very insightful, interacting with you, and thank you everyone for logging in. We always try and kind of bring relevant fund managers, the relevant topic at a, I would say pertinent time. And this endeavor has been very sincere, and that's why we have been getting good response. Thank you everyone for your compliments and your participation always. We'll continue this exercise because we ourselves are investors and very passionate investors. And thank you, Samir, for such straight from the heart, views and opinions that we have shared.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay.